Hey, what's up guys? I'm a regular guy with the Regular Guy Firearms channel. Thanks for watching. Okay, so we're going to sit here and talk about EDC and all of that stuff. And personally, going on rant mode for just a minute. There's a lot of people that approach this, I personally believe, extremely wrong-headed. Because when we start talking about EDC and everything else, you hear dudes talking about holsters and guns and knives and all kinds of random stuff that has to do with sticking people or shooting people, and you basically only ever hear that, right? And a lot of times you get this dude who gets a really high-speed pistol or something like that, and mag carriers and all this craziness, and he's got a sorry-ass belt to walk around with. So that's where I believe a big problem with it is that if you're going to carry a gun on you on a day-to-day basis and whatnot, I highly suggest that you think about everything but the gun first. What do I mean by that? First and foremost, you need a belt. You need a quality belt. Okay, and there's more than one type of belt out there that's good to go, okay? For instance, 511 makes a fantastic belt of various different types. You have like the Cobra clips and stuff like that, or you just have a regular rigger style belt. But we don't have to go into the tactical sauce for this all the time, okay? I'll show you what I've got going on as far as what I'm wearing, but you can just go into a basic regular loop belt, like a leather belt. So long as it's a good quality belt, it's going to serve you really well. It's one of those deals where when you go online and you get like one of those Black Hawk nylon belts that flex even when they're brand new really easily, and it's real easy to just tear those things apart, that we start having issues. Okay, so a belt is your primary thing that you need to really be paying attention to. Okay, number two, we cannot entertain the idea of possibly having to shoot people if we're not thinking about being shot or someone with us being shot. So some kind of medical thing or medical equipment and equivalent training to learn how to use it, to me, should be absolutely required. And my big thing about EDC is that it has to be 100% minimalist. You have to be as minimal as you can for EDC, mostly because you have to carry that crap every day. It's implied in the little initialism there. So that's the thing that I find kind of an issue, or that I would, raise a hand and start questioning certain things over when dudes start carrying like all kinds of trauma crap on them. Realistically speaking, to me, there's pretty much two things that are real compact and that you can fit on your body real easy every day, all day. And that is a tourniquet, and you're running with like a Cat T style of tourniquet, and a small little thing of combat gauze. Okay, real easy to carry around. You can throw it in the back pocket. You don't have your wallet in, because your regular day-to-day stuff, it needs to be there too. A third thing, regardless to what it is that you carry on your body, it needs to have functionality, and I'll get back to that here in a second, and it needs to stay out of the way of your everyday life stuff. For instance, anything that I'm doing that's related to a gun or a knife or something like that needs to stay out of the way of like my car keys or my wallet. Does that make sense? Mostly because I can't be sitting there fiddling with gun shit while I'm trying to get into my car or trying to pay for something, at friggin' Publix or Kroger. So we cannot sit there and impede what we're trying to do with all this cool guy crap that we're wearing. Makes sense? Third, if you don't have to buy something to solve a problem, don't. You really don't. And again, we'll get back to that a little bit later on. Now, I'm going to go ahead and snap to like my belt line here, and we're going to sit there and talk about what I personally do as far as a day-to-day carry type deal. So here it is, we're on the belt line and stuff, okay? And obviously we can see my keys. A big point that I was making earlier is that anything that you wear as far as like gun guy stuff, needs to be a non-printing thing, and you guys can see that, okay, unless you didn't know who I was and had no idea why you were coming to this video and it was just playing, that you'd have no idea that I had a gun on, right? More so than that, it's all the other stuff that is tied into it. Now, first and foremost, we're looking at stuff like the M&P that's being carried appendix, okay, with the RMR and stuff on it. Yes, a review's coming for this. No, it's not a Gen 2, and yeah, all that. Second, okay, we had the spare magazine on, and we'll talk about the gun stuff in a minute here, but let's talk about everything else. Okay, so when we're looking at the rest of the stuff that's on my body, okay, you'll see that I've got two things on here. One is a pen, because I need a pen in my day-to-day life. And two, you may or may not know, that's a knife. Now, a lot of dudes carry knives and stuff on them, and a lot of dudes have some really, really absurd thought processes for knives, my personal opinion. The biggest thing is that this guy right here, this guy is a cardboard killer, okay? There's a reason why I am carrying a gun, and so I don't have to use this on people, because that's awful. So that's my little cardboard killer and stuff like that, and that is just a utility that I have here, okay? I have these things to supplement my day-to-day life. I'm not oriented towards shooting people and stuff, okay? What's oriented towards shooting people is the pistol that's on. Now, as I said before, a good thick leather belt will do you just fine. Okay, we don't need to get into all the tactical sauce and whatnot. And additionally, if you're using something like tuckable clips and whatnot, like I'm using right now, you can actually tuck this shirt, inside of the waistband with the full-size gun on, pull the shirt out of the way. Admittedly, that's way more difficult, and then get the gun out. Okay. How you orient a pistol is entirely on you, and I'll do a separate video on, pistol orientation and what that means. But this is where I think the problem is, okay? Because what a lot of people are going to say is that they saw me pull a magazine pack out of this instead of pulling it out of some high-speed pouch. Look, I'm a southpaw, okay? Most change pockets in jeans, that's what this is, fit a magazine just fine. Why am I going out and buying a magazine carrier? That thing is fit and snug, and it's not going anyplace, and it's not rocking anywhere. And if I really have to, while I'm doing a shoot and all that jazz, I can just go for it, get it, and we're done, right? And if I have to stow a magazine, I can do the same thing. So why are we buying tactical jazz when we don't have to? If it does the job, and it does it well, and it doesn't get in the way, why mess with the stuff? This is especially a thing if your jeans fit you, okay? Now, if you go out and look around, I know for a fact that some right-handed guys are going to ask this. I've seen cargo pants, and I've seen jeans come with change pockets on the other side in case you just want to ditch the mag carrier that you have, especially if you wear jeans all the time like I do, okay? So, and that's the deal, is that anything that's oriented around this is oriented around not impeding my day-to-day life, okay? I can still get in my car, I can still write things down, I can still kill a box, I can still pay for things, and all the while I can get to a friggin' tourniquet and some combat gauze, I can get to my gun or have to do a mag change or whatever that I need without causing any issues. Now, a couple of questions are going to be asked about the whole spare magazine thing, and I have a couple of thoughts on that. Alright, now for a lot of guys that are out there and talking about, the whole EDC thing and whatnot, a lot of dudes advocate against carrying extra magazine, mostly because they'll say stuff like, if you have to do a reload in the middle of a self-defense shoot and stuff like that with a pistol, you'll be famous, especially if you go through 15 or 17 rounds. I agree with that reasoning. I agree with it entirely, and that may be perplexing to a couple. I agree entirely that it is an astronomical chance, first of all, that you're getting into a shoot. It is an equally astronomical chance, on top of that astronomical chance, that you will end up having to do a slide lock reload. I agree with you. I totally do. And let's not make this anything other than what it is. What it is for me is pre-planning on bad things happening to me, because that's just how it is. And I'm not talking about going to slide lock. What I'm talking about happening is that, look, I shoot a lot, I train a lot, and personally, I gave up on the whole Go Time magazines and training magazine separation thing forever ago. I just started using magazines, especially when stuff started getting wore out. So my EDC magazines get trained with. And, you know, they're constantly compressed and decompressed over and over again by me shooting bullets out of my gun and doing all kinds of craziness like that, right? So what tends to happen that you end up with, you know, a decision to make, really. Am I going to train and practice and do all this cool guy stuff only to have a magazine that I wore out fail on me and then I die because my gun doesn't work anymore, right? So really that's what it is. And again, also, a super astronomical chance, but that's slightly greater than the thought of having to go on a slide lock. So chances are my gear might cause me problems. So I want to be able to solve that problem. So basically everything that I'm tailoring my thought process around Gear 4 is a manageable enough fix for whatever happens on my day-to-day life. You know, for instance, if I'm not in a shoot, great. I can get to everything that I need to get to and, you know, go about my daily life and it's totally fine. If I have to get into a shoot, I have access to a gun, and if I have a gun problem, I have an alternate means of fixing that problem as far as equipment is concerned. Cool. If I'm in the dark, I'm either messing around with a gun-mounted light or a handheld light. Okay. A lot of you may have noticed that I don't have a handheld light as far as just like a regular handheld light on my body. This is true. Mostly because if I need a light, I have a cell phone, honestly. And if I need a light and I'm in some type of defense thing, I have a light on the gun. Does that make sense? And if you don't carry a light on the gun, you should basically practice having to use your light in conjunction, your handheld light in conjunction with a gun. And this is really awkward at first, trust me. Not just drawing the gun, but getting the light out and orienting the light and all that stuff. So really that's it. I mean, like, I don't personally believe that all this hubbub about having to carry an external light on top of the light that's on your phone, on top of the light that's on the gun, is necessary at all. We don't need 8,000 lights on our bodies. I need a utility light. That's my phone because it's charged all the time, and I live in, you know, the modern era. And if I have to use a light in conjunction with a gun, I got it. Not a big deal. Okay. And then the final solve for anything that happens in a really bad sense is that, like, if I or somebody near me gets hurt, I have the provisions to deal with that. Basically, a light fix for that issue. Okay. So, and again, like, there's a whole lot of different theories and stuff like that on this, but to me, if you keep everything as minimal as possible, meaning you can you have a solve for all the little problems that you may encounter or just regular day-to-day things, but you're not loaded down with so much problem-solving gear that you find excuses to leave it home. Does that make sense? So, with all that being said, guys, if you have any questions of me, go ahead and throw them in the comments box below and all that jazz. If you have any alternate opinions on this, because there's 10,000 ways to slay this friggin' dragon, go ahead and leave those opinions in the comments box below. And remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.